Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. We start our show with Game 1 last night, and look who was back playing. Anthony Edwards was back after being real questionable. He missed 9 days, 2 whole games, but back as the Wolves open up with Wemby and the Spurs last night. He was on a minutes restriction. He did not start this game, but boy, it didn't look like he missed a beat. Cans a jumper here early on. His first basket back. Looked like vintage Ant early on to tie the game at 19. That hyperextended knee looked A-OK, at least from these eyes, as did the crowd last night with the multicolored shirts. Cans of three. He's telling everybody, I'm back, as you could hear the NBC audio if you were lucky enough to watch last night. How about a little step through and around? Puts Minnesota up by 3. They did not look intimidated one bit, knowing full well what they were going up against. This guy was great. Dylan Harper played 29 minutes off the bench, had 18 for San Antonio. Then this guy showed up. Wembanyama was sensational last night. He had a triple-double, including blocks as part of the category. He was in double figures last night. Then he can step off the dribble and dunk over Rudy Gobert. Nobody does that in the NBA. To do that on 7'3" Rudy Gobert, only the 7'5" Wembanyama can do that. That's the highlights of what this series could potentially be. Right before the end of the third quarter, that teardrop from Keldon Johnson gives San Antonio a 72-69 lead. Watch again, over the outstretched Jaden McDaniels. Spurs crowd loving it. Up by 3. Tie game at 75. Edwards, little step back there. That's over Wemby. Now, remember a couple years ago when Luka Doncic was doing that to Rudy Gobert and everyone was roasting Rudy? Nobody said that about Wemby last night. Edwards with a drive and score. Puts Minnesota up by 2. Up by 2 here, a little floater. He was heating up in the fourth quarter. Again, he played 25 minutes last night on a minutes restriction. Wolves up 6. Wemby blocks here on the drive from Terrence Shannon. The kick out, Mike Conley with a 3. The Wolves are up by 9. Conley had 4 threes last night. Bones loving it. The Spurs, though, were kept in this game by the Wolves, I would say, inadequateness of finishing the game. Randall with a beautiful drive puts Minnesota up by 6 with 49 seconds to go. It's a 4-point lead. They can't inbound the ball. It's stolen away. The easy lay-in for Harper. Now it's a 2-point Wolves lead with 30 seconds to go. The end of this game was a dumpster fire, or the best way to describe how Minnesota played the final, I'd say, 60 seconds of this game to make it a 9-point lead into what turned into an awfully tight game. You see again the Randall finish off the glass for 2. Thinking this game was over until it wasn't. Again, here the inbound. I just don't know what Edwards was trying to do there. Harper puts it home. So it's 104-102 with 30.9 remaining. Now we're down to the final 10. Randall misses a shot. San Antonio gets the rebound. They have a chance to win the game. They don't call any timeouts. A step back 3 for the win is short. And the Minnesota Timberwolves go into San Antonio and absolutely steal Game 1 against the higher-seeded Spurs, 104-102. With Edwards back, the Wolves win Game 1. He played 25 minutes last night. He scored 18 points on 8 of 13 from the field. Terrence Shannon Jr., he scored 16, another starting effort for him. Randall had 21. Wemby, as I mentioned, a triple-double last night, but here's the more important fact. He was 5 of 17 from the field, 0 of 8 from three-point range. The Wolves did their job against him defensively. Afterwards, everyone wondering how in the world did Anthony Edwards play after just 9 days of rest?
Can you just take us through what it took to get you back as quickly as it did?
Just right after the injury, I think the main thing is just trying to keep it from being stiff, because that's the usual outcome of when you hyperextend your knee. Like, you don't want to move it. And like I said, I think I got the best physical therapist in the world with David Hines. So just trusting him and working through all the pain that I felt throughout the first 2 days, 3 days, and just getting in the pool, running on it, band work, and just a lot of resistance. So, yeah, he got me right.
How did you feel during the game? What parts of your game, if at all, feel limited? And I think you got to 25 minutes. How quickly do you feel like you can up that?
I felt great. I don't think I'm limited at all. And it's whatever coach needs from me.
And what was that frantic finish like? And it seemed like after the game you were a little upset with yourself with the rebounding. What was it like the last couple minutes of that one without a timeout being called?
Just game plan mistakes. For me, mental mistakes. We had timeouts. I should have used one. Like, I'm not really that good at taking the ball out of bounds, as I know. And I had two mixed box outs with a minute left on number 30. Champagne, I don't know. But yeah, I had two missed box outs on him. So yeah, just game plan mistakes that won't happen again. Everybody in the arena is against us. Yeah, I think that's the best thing that's the best thing about it. Like, you start on the road, everybody got on pink, blue, and whatever other color shirts there is, chanting "Go Spurs, go," and doing all that. And I'm with Minnesota. Like, I got Minnesota back at all times. So I'm out there with my brothers, and we're going to war.
He gonna have to block it every time. I ain't gonna stop going downhill. And I told him that when he said a little something after he blocked my second one, but he gonna have to block it every time, and I know he ain't gonna block it every single time. I'm gonna dunk on him.
That's great from Terrence Shannon Jr. I love every part of that he's gonna keep coming at it. So, game 1 goes to Minnesota. Game number 2 tomorrow night, right back in San Antonio, 8:30 tomorrow night. That's on ESPN, and then the scene shifts to Minneapolis for Game 3 on Friday. Another 8:30 start there. That'll be on Amazon Prime. But now Minnesota has stolen home court advantage here, taking Game 1 last night. And again, I think their attitude, from what Terrence Shannon Jr. said, was exactly right, that they're going to go at him. They don't care how many times he's going to block it. That end sequence was perfect, that they got a loose ball, scooped up. Mike Conley hits a 3, and they roll with it after that. So it's 1-0 with game number 2 coming up tomorrow. The other Western Conference series will begin tonight between the Lakers and the Thunder. OKC, obviously a heavy favorite there. Austin Reeves is back. No update yet on Luka Doncic's status. That begins tonight in Oklahoma City. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks won again by 1 billion after they beat Atlanta by nearly 50 to close out that series last week. They open up against, I would imagine, a rundown Sixers team that just went 7 games against Boston, had 1 day to prep, and then had to play last night, and the Knicks won by 40. So they lay that 1 to none. The other series are the 2 teams that just played Sunday in 7 games, Detroit and Cleveland. That will begin tonight as well. So that's the update there in the NBA playoffs. With that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. That was a heck of a way to start. We left yesterday, I think, in our heart of hearts, thinking Edwards was going to play. Just wasn't sure how much, how effective he would be. He was beyond both of those for what Minnesota wanted and needed last night, and provided a great performance. And in the process, they win again on the road, which they have proven to do over the last 3 postseasons, as they have gone to difficult places and won. Oklahoma City, not so much, obviously in the West Finals last year, but they won in Golden State last year. They won in the opening round against the Lakers last year. They clinched on the road against the Lakers. They clinched on the road against the Phoenix Suns Obviously, they won Game 7 in Denver. So to what they had last night, and I think experience goes a long way. This is San Antonio's first dance, right? They have not made the postseason in a decade. They have been bubbled up and been the second-best team in the league this year, right behind what Oklahoma City did. Some think that they are the team to beat in the Western Conference, but they haven't experienced this. The Wolves, for all you want to say about their lack of experience or their inability maybe to make clutch shots, well, they've done it before, and that certainly proved out in a big-time way last night. And the fact that Edwards was back, you can't underestimate that. We'll save a little more Wolves chatter for later on in the show. Kyle Theige is going to join us from the Dane Moore podcast. Great one that chats everything Wolves. We'll dive into that about Ant's return, Wemby's play, and look ahead to Game 2 and the rest of this series, which now suddenly, again, the odds were 13.5. The Spurs were a 13.5-point favorite to win that game last night, even with Edwards' return. That I don't know if the odds makers didn't believe that he was going to play or be as effective as he was, but certainly now, as you wake up this morning, odds are a lot different in regards to the Wolves-Spurs series. Meanwhile, in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night, the Wild had the day off, which we'll see what happens tonight. They resume their series. The other West series started last night between Vegas and Anaheim, which 30 years ago, no one would have thought that anyone would be playing in Vegas or Anaheim. The Knights have just the coolest way to start games. By the way, they're awfully good on the ice as well. Brett Howden, who scored the game winner in Game 5, a shorthanded overtime winner to beat Utah, scores. The Ducks uniforms, they're not as great as what they used to be, but they're not bad. Former Wild great Mikael Granlund. Why can't the Wild find players like him? Buries home a one-timer. Knots the game up at 1. Same score into the third period. Ivan Barbashev will get loose for Vegas. Again, they've been good since their inception into the league. That's a nifty pass. Makes it a 2-1 Golden Knights lead. See, Joe Quenneville, the head coach of the Ducks, was not thrilled what happened there. Anaheim has pulled its goaltender. Mitch Marner, the former Maple Leaf, flicks it down the ice. That ends up being the empty netter. Vegas wins Game 1, 3-1. They lead that series 1-0. The winner of that will play the winner of the Wild and Colorado series, which will resume tonight. Interested to see what John Hines does in goal. If Jesper Wallstedt gets brought back after the 8 goals he allowed in game number 1, or do we see the Gus bus? We haven't seen Philip Gustafsson the entire postseason for Minnesota. Meanwhile, in the East, the Hurricanes are up 2-0 after winning in overtime over the Flyers. The other East series hasn't even begun and will not start until tomorrow between Buffalo and Montreal. Just kind of the quirkiness of the NHL postseason schedule that you've got one series already 2 games in, while another hasn't even started after the Canadiens had to go 7 to beat Tampa. So there's your playoff update on another busy night. I will say, and we talked about it yesterday a little bit, on the Wolves start times and where their games are available, because this got even more play as the day went on yesterday. And again, reminder, in the Western Conference in the NBA, there are 3 teams that are left in the Central Time Zone, and they cannot have any start times go beyond 8:30. That's just a rule that's not going to happen in the second round with Oklahoma City, with San Antonio, and Minnesota. And the reason why the games overlap last night, it wasn't a true doubleheader, is the networks are resistant to having games tip earlier than 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Eastern time, or even 7:30 Eastern time, because typically, at least in the Eastern time zone, that the news is on, local news is on till 6:30, and then the nightly news is on at 6:30 Eastern time, and they're just not going to preempt that. That's why the Knicks game last night started, I believe, at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, because that just is the way it's going to be. So that's why you had overlapping games last night, and you're going to have overlapping games tonight when the games are on network TV. Like NBC had the games last night. They got the games tonight. Now, tomorrow night, ESPN has it. They don't care. ESPN's going to start at 6 with the Knicks game, and then the Wolves are going to play at 8:30. Back-to-back true doubleheader. Because I think the start time wasn't the issue last night. I think more than anything, and I got already 2 messages in last night. Say, hey, I'd love to watch it, but I didn't. So try to get a look at the painting, talking about the crowd in San Antonio last night. Someone should let the NBA know they're not the NFL. They can't just put their games on any random streaming service and think people will buy it, especially with gas the way it is. I won't argue that last point, considering I filled up my gas tank yesterday. What I will say is the NBA strategy is akin to what the NFL has done. And what their hope is that you will see a game, want to come back and get it again. Like the game last night, because the game on NBC was a dud. The Knicks won by $1 billion. That their hope is, hey, get Peacock. That game was pretty darn good last night and be worth the time to watch. We'll see what happens. But I can understand the frustration level that was oozing out last night. And you're going to have it again on Friday because the Wolves are playing on Amazon Prime for that game against San Antonio back in Minneapolis for Game 3. NBA strategy is that they want that to grow organically to a spot where you need to have both. If you are that big of a basketball fan, or if you're even, hey, I'm a postseason fan, that you're going to want it. You're going to need to have it to watch the games. And we'll see if it pays off or not. I wouldn't say it's a risky proposition because I think enough people now have it streaming-wise, but I'm sure there were plenty that were left out last night saying, hey, I'd love to watch, but couldn't. We have a packed show coming up for you here today on this Tuesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up at 9:35, our guy Mike McFeely back with us as always. I've left the door wide open for whoever he likes to chat about. We will do that here coming up today at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Lenny Ohlhauser will join us, soon to be retired Davies athletic director after 4 decades in administration, and including the last almost near 20 at Davies. He is set to retire in just over a month. He's been the only AD that school has ever had, including when the doors weren't even open, when the school wasn't even built. We're going to talk to him about that because I remember those days were interesting in 2010, 2011 with Lenny. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. And as I mentioned, at 10:35, Kyle Theige from the Dane Moore podcast, Ultimate Wolves Rube podcaster, will join us at 10:35, give us his thoughts on Game 1, what the Wolves did, how they do it again in Game 2. Again, they were without Ayo Dosunmu. He did not play last night, out with that calf injury. And you get him back? The way they're playing now? Holy cow. So Kyle will join us at 10:35 to wrap up the show. That and a heck of a lot more over the next hour and 40 minutes or so. We'll break. We come back. Another high school head coach has been forced out. Story out of Bemidji is ugly. We'll discuss that when we return. Hot Mike is off and rolling. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. We're off and rolling here on a Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike. Mike McFeely will join us in about 15 minutes worth of time. Story came down yesterday. Bemidji Pioneer, friends of ours. Headline reads as follows. Bemidji's Brian Stuffle steps down, cites, quote, ongoing personal attacks. Cut line, Brian Stuffle stepped down from his position as Bemidji High School football head coach on Monday, citing, quote, ongoing personal attacks during his 6 seasons at the helm. Announced on Monday his resignation over Facebook. He was hired in 2020, replacing the legend Troy Hendricks, who had been there for 18 years, I want to say. Troy did both. Friend of ours, we've had Troy on the show several times. James Hendricks' dad, former Bison standout player, who was both coach and AD. In the post, Stuffle said, it's been an honor to coach this program and work with such dedicated student athletes. However, ongoing personal attacks, including those affecting my family, along with a lack of support, have led me to prioritize my family and step away. In 6 seasons, Bemidji was 29-27. The Jacks were the Section 8 5A runner-up in both 2021 and 2025, according to a story from the Bemidji Pioneer. Stuffle added, I'm grateful to the players, coaches, and supporters, and I wish the program continued success. He declined to comment any further when reached out by the newspaper yesterday morning. His best season was 2024. They went 7-3. The Jacks finished 500 or better in 4 of the 6 seasons that he was head coach. He was an assistant for 11 years under Troy Hendricks starting in 2009. He played at Bemidji State. So, I mean, he's been a Bemidji guy for a long, long time. Now, that alone, again, just makes my blood boil because we've been down this road. We just were last month, obviously, with the mess that happened at Shanley. What adds to it is that Stuffle's wife, Jackie, also resigned as the unified coordinator for Bemidji area schools. And again, this happened not simultaneously, but almost pretty darn close to it. Jackie Stuffle, who was instrumental in building Bemidji area schools' unified program, announced her resignation in a statement on Monday. She's taught Phi Ed in Bemidji for 14 years, including the Unified Physical Education and Developmental Adaptive Physical Education programs there. She posted as well, made the difficult decision to step down. I appreciate the students, parents, and community for making this program wonderful. It was an honor to be a part of it. Her announcement came less than 2 hours after her husband Brian announced his resignation from the Bemidji High School football head coaching position, citing, quote, ongoing personal attacks. And I mean, she's done everything and anything under the sun to help out adaptive sports, unified sports there. Expanded the program to take parts in other sports like robotics, track and field, bowling, and more. 2020, she was named an Educator of Excellence by the Minnesota Rural Education Association for her work in advocating. I mean, she's a champ up there. Ongoing personal attacks, and that's this is a common refrain we have on this show, is what are we doing? And I don't blame anybody for getting out if that's the junk they got, especially considering Bemidji has won pretty consistently. To me, I don't understand it. And I will tell you, in the outpouring that came afterwards from the Shanley situation, I got at least 20 or so messages from around the area. And I got another one here from Western North Dakota I wanted to share. And this is another group here. I'd love to show you what happened to me and the rest of Southwest North Dakota in basketball. Our entire region has been completely dismantled in the head coaching world. I can name between 12 to 15 great award-winning coaches out here that are no longer coaching solely because of parents. Not fly-by-night people, coaches with winning records, state appearances, championships, and Coach of the Year awards. Look through the hoopster sometime and see how many coaches have 10 years experience. It's quite sad, which, I mean, it can't be that many anymore. Even just ask Perry Hansen how hard it is for him to get people to participate in the hoopster anymore solely because new coaches are constantly coming in. It's beyond frustrating, and I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to be the champion for coaches because there are bad ones out there, sure. And there are some that probably deserve to be maybe removed. There's none that deserve to be removed because parents are unhappy with how they coach, unless it's got something to do with a physical altercation or something that has happened beyond the realm of the acceptable means of coaching. If it's simply because they don't like how the coach spoke to a certain player or how their coaching meant one of the best players, which I can tell you is what the situation that happened at Shanley, then get out. And that's where you need a firm athletic director with a spine, with a backbone to say, no, that's the coach is going to coach. I fully support said head coach, and this is what we're going to do. And unfortunately, when more of these stories get out, or the story that happened here last month, it only emboldens more parents to be more brazen to say, my kid isn't playing, I think they should, and the coach isn't recognizing it, we want the coach gone. It's as simple as that. And more of this happens, they're going to get more emboldened to do it tenfold. Now, not knowing beyond what the story written, I don't know the Stuffles and Bemidji. All I know is that both seem to have done very well for themselves at their positions. The fact they felt they needed to step away tells you that it was untenable for them to continue, and that's too bad. And I go back to the question that I asked several times over in the days after the Shanley firings, is like, who's going to step up and do this? We are almost a month removed from what happened on the south side of Fargo. As far as I know, they haven't hired anybody. I can also tell you this, that the volleyball position there has been open since December. That has not been filled yet. And it's now May. Who wants to go do these jobs? I mean, good luck to you, because you're going to run into, unless you have an AD that's willing to say, we're not going to put up with that. If that's clear message put out, and the head coach knows that the athletic director has support and has their back, then this isn't an issue. But more often than not, it seems like the ADs are willing to cave, and when that happens, there was 2 other stories out of Minnesota just last week. One out of a private school, almost a similar situation happened at Shanley. Another public school where longtime coaches are winning ones, are being forced out or quitting because they don't want to do it anymore. You know, we talk about how bad it is to get really good officials these days, young officials. Coaches in the same boat. It is not good. And for those that sign up to do it, tip of the hat to you, because you got to have about as thick a skin as imaginable right now to do those positions. We'll say more on this for later on in the show. We're time for a break, though. We'll do it now, bottom of the hour. We come back. Our guy, Mike McFeely, will join us, talk about thick skin. That guy certainly has it. We'll chat whatever he wants. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on a Tuesday morning, back on WDAY Extra right after this.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. All right, time to let it rip with our guy, Mike McFeely. Joins us each and every Tuesday at 9:35. Good to see you, my man. How's it going?
Fantastically well.
What do you want to talk about today? What can of worms for you?
It's not my show. I could say, okay, a couple thoughts.
Yeah, go for it.
Driving in from my house, North Moorhead, I was flipping around the radio dial, which is basically the only time I ever listen to radio these days is in my 5-minute drives in my car. Def Leppard.
Oh.
Fantastic. I mean, let's go back to the 80s and talk about Def Leppard and just how good they were.
What was on?
Love Bites.
Ooh, that's all right.
It's a semi-ballad, so Def Leppard, thumbs up. Minnesota Timberwolves, thumbs up.
Right.
Ball game last night. They tried really hard to
lose
whiz it down their leg. Horrible turnover by Randall on an inbounds pass.
Horrible turnover by And on the inbounds pass.
Yeah, horrible possession by the Wolves when they could have put the game away. Yes. And then a horrible defense allowing San Antonio to have basically a wide open 3 to win the game. And unfortunately for the Wolves, it bounced off the front rim. So good kudos to them. Victor Wembanyama, Vicky Wemmy is fantastic. Transformational player. Reminds me of you at the State University of Oswego.
Yes, I'm sure.
And third thing, I've not been known in my life to be a value shopper, let's say. I'm not great with
like deals and coupons kind of thing.
Not great with money.
Okay.
I just like to spend money.
Okay.
And when I buy something, I'm just going to buy what I want. I'm not going to be shopping around going, oh, I could save $3.75 by driving.
I'm with you there.
I'm just like,
That's
I
not
want
my
this.
deal.
I'm going to buy it, which makes my wife incredibly happy. But I have found the greatest value of all time.
Is?
Sunset Lanes.
Oh, your spot.
For the summer,
Yeah.
you can bowl unlimited bowling from May 1st until August 31st for guess the price.
Oh, man.
You can pay one price for those 4 months and bowl all you want.
$100?
Oh, get out of town. I said value shopping.
$50?
Get out of town. $39.95.
Whoa.
For the entire summer. So last
Not far
night.
from my house.
No, so last night, instead of going to play golf, which I got my pickup to, I go, I'm going to go play golf. My wife's like, okay, what are you, nuts? I drove around town for a while and went, no, I'm not going to play golf. So I'd already purchased my summer membership at the very exclusive Sunset Lanes. Deep background check. They check into your finances, all those things.
Yes.
They allowed me in. I appreciate that. I went and rolled 7 games last night.
Wow.
At Sunset. I have paid for my summer membership in one day. Everything from here on out is gravy.
So what?
Like every time I go there now, it's like I'm making money.
Yeah.
I'm making money. I'm looking at the owner going, I'm making money, Darren. I'm making money.
What'd you average in those 7 games?
155,
All
of
right.
course.
There you go.
It's terrible.
That's not bad.
No, it's awful. But it doesn't matter. I'm practicing. I'm getting
ready
better.
for next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
My
your
shoulder
shot.
today feels like, Griffin MP brought a sledgehammer to it for an hour. Maybe overdid it a little bit. But so all for your thousands of viewers, your thousands of podcast listeners, your thousands of people who stop me at the Shack or Hornbachers and tell me how they love me on this program.
Yes.
$40 all summer long.
Bam. There it is. Yesterday, you tweeted out this. I didn't have time to get to this on our show yesterday. Pete Thamel reported that UTEP has it's named its starting quarterback. Normally, that's not headline news on Hot Mic.
And I was going to say, I don't know why it's headline news for Pete Thamel.
It's May. He needs something to report on, right?
Like I saw that tweet yesterday, and I went, "So what am I missing? Like, is this guy like
E.J. Colson is the young man's name?
E.J. Colson, and I'm not knocking E.J.
No.
I don't know him. I'm sure he's a fine young man
we're
who
gonna
loves
meet him
playing
later this
football.
year.
Yeah. But I went back with like, is this guy?
Yeah.
Did he start off at Alabama as the starting quarterback? Did he go to the NFL draft and come back? And no. He's just a guy.
On his fourth school.
On his fourth school. And he tried to make it 5, I think, didn't he? Didn't he commit and then decommit before he ever played it down or something?
He was at Central Florida. He was at Incarnate Word.
Went to Purdue for a minute and a half.
Yeah, and now he's at UTEP, and he will be their guy.
Yes.
In 2025.
And I'm on the email list for UTEP football or UTEP sports. They sent out a press release.
Think about that statement
yesterday. Yeah,
you're on the email list.
Yeah, which is great. I can't wait to check it out. Can't wait to meet all the people.
Absolutely.
I'm very much looking forward to it this fall.
That was worthy a release that they sent out. Wow.
And I don't know if they did it because
that's where maybe Pete got it or no.
I'm thinking it was the other way.
Okay.
Like
Pete put it out.
This guy's agent texted Pete Thamel, and Pete said, "Oh, okay, whatever." Yep. And then UTEP went, "Oh, I guess it's a big deal that E.J. Colson is going to be our starter."
Yeah, right.
That was it was just so random.
It is. But the Bison will play UTEP at the end of the upcoming regular season. I had Chris Murray on from the Nevada Sportsnet on Friday. We were chatting. He's one of the, I'd say, clued in guys of what's going on in the Mountain West Conference. He's covered it for a long, long time, and he's already put out like his power rankings and even preseason teams. And he's very bullish on what he thinks the Bison could do in this league coming up.
I guess if
fall.
you think third place is bullish, I guess that's
fine. Considering they haven't played a down of FBS football, I think so, right?
Well, your guy McMurphy has them winning every game, and it's like, my God, settle down, Brett.
Yes, pump the brakes a little bit. 12-0 seems a bit aggressive there.
They're going to be favored in every game. It's like, are they? I don't know about that.
I don't even know if are they going to be favored in the first game?
Ooh.
Jacksonville
Boy,
State?
I don't know.
Jacksonville State's not the JSU we remember with your guy John Gross in 2000,
My guy John Gross,
2015 when
Yes.
they thought they had the better athletes on the team that day in Frisco,
Other
Texas.
than the quarterback, the offensive line, the
NFL draft
defensive
picks.
line, the tight ends. Other
Linebacker.
than that, linebacker. Other than that,
Everything else
State
was fine.
loaded.
Yes.
They were, yes.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't know. We'll see again where everybody is, and who knows in this new world that NDSU is in. And all of these teams NDSU is playing have so many transfers.
A ton.
Like it's like, I mean, we're talking like 45 transfers on some of these teams. So who knows what this is going to be like? But I will say this. This first game that NDSU is playing is going to be huge for the season, I think. And I've said this to a couple other people, and they haven't disagreed. But if NDSU, with all the hype and all the push to get to FBS and the $12.5 million, I know it's just one game and it's just one season. And as Matt Larson has said, this was a decision made for the next 30 years, not the next 30 days, whatever,
Yep.
They got to win this game. I mean, if you start off 0-1 in FBS with then the Mountain West schedule
to
coming
come.
up,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the toughest schedule in the Mountain West.
Yes. Yep.
The conference schedule.
Yes.
Like they do. There's no question. Like everybody agrees on that with the road game. Like, and I just keep hearing from more people involved with the game of football who know NDSU, and they're being earnest. They're not like trying to but they're saying this is going to be tougher than people think.
Wow.
Like this is, I keep going back to it, and I love Murray, Kentucky was a very nice place, nice horse. But there's no Murray States on the schedule anymore.
No. There's no Indiana States on the schedule anymore.
And so if we look back at the last 5 seasons of North Dakota State football,
Even
when they won,
there's no Northern Iowas on the schedule anymore.
right, for what they've become.
Right.
But there was, you could look at the schedule before the season
Absolutely.
and say, NDSU is going to win these 8 or 9 games. Like they're going to win the game. And if they don't, there's going to be real problems. But they're going to win 8 games.
Yep.
The season is going to be based on an 11-game season on these 3 games. South Dakota State, whomever. And that's not the case anymore. You can't look at this year's Bison schedule and say there's 8 wins there. It all just depends on how they do in the other 4 games.
No.
I can look at 1 or 2 games. Fordham.
Yes.
If they lose to Fordham,
oh my gosh.
Like, just burn down the Fargo Dome, shut down the program. We're all done here. But so that's exciting to me as somebody who covers the team. That's what I have been asking for 6 years is let's have a little mystery to what's happening.
Yeah, correct.
Here. And it doesn't mean that North Dakota State, as I've said, they're going to be just fine they'll be just fine this year, but they'll be just fine going forward. And I believe that in a couple of years, a few years, they're going to be rolling, okay? But this first year, they need to win this first game.
Yeah.
Just start off
2-0 there.
Get the mojo going, get people excited.
Then it's Air Force after that.
Because if you lose to the Gamecocks, it's like people are going, well, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Like, what? Like, we're supposed to win 11 games, and we're 0-1. So I don't mean to put too much pressure on Tim Polasek, but
win.
You don't want to be 0-1.
Let's break. I want to come back. I want to talk about another thing you wrote yesterday that actually got some national momentum out of the Big Mountain podcast about a potential G6 playoffs. We'll discuss that. We wrap up hour 1. Back with Mike McFeely right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Back with Mike McFeely. Column you wrote and was picked up several other outlets last week from Tim Pernetti, who's the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference. He was on the Big Mountain podcast last week and surmising that he'd like to see a group of 6 playoff.
I don't think I wrote it. I think I watched the podcast.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I didn't talk to Pernetti.
No.
The guys at the Big Mountain podcast did. But I was swapping some texts with you as always, because you and I have no lives, about the G6 playoff.
But this is interesting, what he was saying.
We've heard about a G6 playoff for a long time, forever, and that's, again, people are surmising, hoping, coping that there's going to be some break off, and then all the schools are going to be back together again in the Dakotas, and they're going to be in a G6 play, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yep.
But people have said, well, as long as the G6 has access to the college football playoff, and by the way, the G6 commissioners are all on board saying we not only want access even if the playoff expands, but we could be talking about expanded access, which is going to be very difficult.
I don't know how they get another spot. That seems far-fetched to me.
The point is, as long as the G6 has access to the CFP, then why would you have a G6 playoff? But Pernetti, who's the commissioner of the American Conference, says, well, but wait a second. Like, even if we do get access,
we're still going to have it.
Even if we do have access to the CFP, which we will, let's think about some sort of G6 playoff or G6 bowl structure.
Yeah.
Because why would you not want more games on national TV? And if there's a gap between, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday NFL playoff games, and then the college football playoff, like the next weekend, who's going to fill that void?
Yeah, right?
And so why can't it be us in the G6 and come up with some sort of playoff, quote unquote, even though the best team, supposedly would be in the CFP? How can we take advantage of, that's basically the conversation, is how can we take advantage of the gaps in the big time TV football schedule to get out there and get 3 million people watching whomever. NDSU just say play
North Texas,
South Florida or something, whatever. James Madison again. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So what it writes here, what it means in practice is a standalone group of 6 playoff for the 5 conference champions who don't earn the CFP's automatic bid. The semifinals will be played on Tuesday and Wednesday of CFP semifinal week, with the CFP games following on Thursday. The group of 6's automatic existing qualifier to the CFP remains unchanged. To what Mike said, you'd have Sunday NFL, Monday Night Football is the wild card game. You'd have the group of 6 playoff games Tuesday, Wednesday. The CFP games Thursday, Friday, and then you're back to the NFL Saturday, Sunday.
Right. So the point is there's not only a game gap, but because television has ruined everything in sports and controls everything in college football, there's also a TV gap in there.
God.
So why not take advantage of that? Because people are like in a mood.
Yep.
And it's not going to draw, 20 million people.
No.
But if you get a Wednesday night game between the NFL playoffs and the CFP semifinals, between, again, North Dakota State and James Madison, there's going to be a few million people watch that.
Correct. Pernetti added, says, we're having discussions about it, just knocking around the idea. There are a lot of folks out there from the brand and media side that are really interested in knowing more about this. I think we have a responsibility to run that idea out and see what it looks like and make a decision on whether or not it makes sense to pursue it. Why not? If the networks would certainly be, ESPN would certainly scoop that up wholehandedly. Let's go.
Well, on a Wednesday night, and I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't ABC or Fox pick it up? I don't know. Yep. I mean, go ahead. And if it's, I don't know if you can work it this way, but if it's the G6, then maybe can the money go to the G6 schools? I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
exactly. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than we're even thinking about.
I don't understand how any of this works other than, sure, go for it. I mean, why not?
Because honestly, he wrote about this, and I think you and I talked about it. Like last year, the Mountain West champion was Boise State. They played on the first Saturday of the bowl season against Washington in the LA Bowl.
Yeah.
Which, that was hidden because it was on a Saturday. It was the first of the bowls.
Yeah.
You want to reward those champs, and they're going to do that. Looks like now with the poinsettia coming back with them against the Pac-12 champ. But there's opportunities there to get maybe in a higher profile game for the winner of said leagues.
This Pernetti guy, I'd actually talked to the previous American commissioner was great, Mike Oresco. I actually talked to him a couple times. Great guy. Fun guy to talk. I don't know if he's a great fun guy to talk with because he was pretty straightforward.
Pernetti's an old football player.
Off the record. But Pernetti played at Rutgers. but just a real, what a great communicator.
Yes.
And I don't want to promote anybody else's podcast or show on this show, but if you get a chance to watch the podcast, it was not the big mountain guy that did it, though. It was somebody else. But anyway, get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, you're right. It was a different one. You're right.
Pernetti's really good, really smooth.
He's slick guy when he's talking about.
But a great communicator, and you kind of find yourself going, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And so that's, you got to have thinkers and forward thinkers in college athletics today, because the Bruce Pearls of the world, those guys are just, it's like they're yesterday's news. They have the platform. For some reason, CBS has given that numbskull a platform, but totally. Everything he's talking about is obsolete.
Correct.
It's, you're not going to stop kids from being paid. You're not going to punish them for transfer.
No.
That's all stuff that when he was a young coach and a dictator, he could do all those things. Now you need to look forward, and Pernetti seems to be a guy that is doing that.
Last thing before we go, the NCAA, the FBS Oversight Committee is set to meet Thursday morning video conference to discuss the transition to allow North Dakota State, Sacramento State to be postseason eligible.
Right.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And from what the sources I've had, it seems NDSU feels, what I was told, really good about the upcoming vote.
You got a story about it that on the record, Matt Larson, the AD, said we feel good where
good
we're
about
at.
the votes. Yep.
You and I have both talked to some of the same people privately, and they've said anything from it's a done deal to it's going to happen. We'll see. Again, I'm out there saying it's a done deal, just going by people who know a lot more than I do, telling me that.
All right. Well, the chair of the Oversight Committee is the AD at Buffalo, and that would serve his league well to vote, because the MAC would get another potential bowl entrant if Sac State goes into the league this year.
Yes, and so I hope it happens, and I think the case that Larson and others have made is the right one. That the rule was put into place years ago just as a arbitrary penalty.
Right.
There's no reasoning behind it. It was, why can you go to a game when we've already been in FBS for years? It didn't make any sense then. It makes less sense now with the current landscape of college football, with transfers and portal windows and revenue sharing. All of those things matter. So give the kids a chance to play.
And it goes back to your first point to wrap it up. If the Bison are able to win that game with Jacksonville State, suddenly the postseason eligibility bowl looks a heck of a lot different if they're able to get game number one.
If they can get to 6 wins and get to a bowl game, and if they can get to 8 wins, then you'd have a better bowl game.
Right.
And, we'll see.
Yeah. Great stuff as always, bud. Thanks for coming by.
You betcha.
All right. Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday to chat whatever we see fit, including great deals apparently at Sunset Lanes. You can do that to go bowling.
$40.
There you go.
$43.10 after tax.
Let's break. We come back.
7 games yesterday. 7 in one day.
Hour 2 of the show starting when we come back after this.
WDAY. Here's Don Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll on this Tuesday morning. Kyle Theige from the Dane Moore podcast will join us, chat some Wolves Game 1 win coming up later on here in this hour. We start our second hour. We talked yesterday with Scott Milbrand, head coach of the Kindred baseball team, of the struggles of playing games in the spring. Our next guest will know all about it, considering he's had to juggle schedules for, I don't know, God knows how long. But he only has to worry about it for another couple weeks. He's set to retire here in just a few weeks. Lenny Ohlhauser joins us, Fargo Davies athletic director, stepping away after nearly over 4 decades as an administrator. Of course, he spent the last, almost 2 decades at Davies, and he joins us here this morning. We were just talking here off air on the joys of trying to schedule in the spring. I'm assuming that's going to be up near the top of things you're not going to miss.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, you get up in the morning and you see the sun shining and no moisture, and yet you're still looking at what other elements are going to cause us to postpone the night, and the cold predictions for later on this afternoon. Yeah, we are now rescheduling again.
Well, first off, thanks for doing this. Second, give us the timeline of this. How long you've been thinking about that this would be it? This year would be the last one.
Well, I don't know if I ever put a timeline of, God, this is when I'm going to retire. I actually thought about it maybe last year when my son graduated, that maybe that'd be a good time to go out. 40 years, he graduates, but I just wasn't ready. I truly love this job, and I don't think I'm ready right now to pull the plug. But everybody looks at you like, when are you going to retire? And sooner or later, kind of go, well, I guess it's time that we just, as I told you earlier, all good things come to an end, and so and it's scary, but yet I'm looking forward to maybe enjoying a little free time to be with my wife a little bit more and just do some things that kind of tied you down with this job.
I was gonna say, when you get to like next August, you're gonna know what to do with yourself.
Well, that's the scary part. I don't know. I better find some hobbies.
I want to talk. I was thinking of this when I reached out the other day, because I distinctly remember those early days before the high school was even built. Can you take us, for people that don't know, Lenny, how odd it was that Davies opened, but yet the school was still sharing it with South? What that was like for you in 2009, 2010, how wild that was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was it was interesting. It was a neat concept, a neat time of, we had decided that we're going to have Davies, but we're also going to have programs prior to the building opening.
Yes.
And so we had Davies participants going to school at South, and I always say, everybody said, boy, is that going to be tough. I'm going, what a great way to develop sportsmanship. You're playing against, a classmate of yours the night before or the day before, and you got to come in and you're in the same class the next day. So I said, that's just a great way. And I think that is really kind of even maybe I look nowadays, I mean, these kids know each other all so well, and, they're friends, they're competitors, the night before or that day, but now they're friends afterwards. And, I look back, years and years ago, I remember when I first got to Fargo, South and North, they were not very friendly to each other. It's different now, and I think social media has a lot to do with that as well. But we're kind of in a unique situation. We played basketball at Discovery, our varsity.
Yes.
We went through a lot of lumps and bumps, if you want to call it that, in football, with juniors. That was a tough thing, but it was, very proud of everybody of our community, coaches, the kiddos that all graduated and participated. They just stuck through there, found their motivation in a different way other than a win. It's really created a good culture around here.
Lenny, tell me what you remember about that first football year. I remember going out and talking to the late, great Jason Theige. I think over across the street from South is where you guys were practicing, but you played all over because you didn't have a place to play. What that was like is for you scheduling-wise, because you played literally 9 different fields in 9 different weeks.
Yeah, we did. It was we practiced at the elementary there, and we just played whoever had openings for us, and that's the beauty about working with the Dakota Conference, our East, EDC, is everybody was willing to open up their fields. And Dom, I got to be honest with you, that happened even before we got turf here. We had a tough go with our fields here, and just other schools said, what can we do? Yep, ours is available, come and use it. And that's the beauty about working with the other school districts, and everybody just wants what's best for the kids.
That was just a wild time. And then year 2, you made the state football playoffs, which I don't know if anybody saw that coming, let alone yourself, right?
I mean, that was pretty neat to hop in and have some success like that after a few years of taking lumps. And it was pretty cool. And again, a lot of credit goes to the coaching staff. Jason was so good. I mean, just he found different things to motivate the kids. Because wins were not easy early on, and it was hard. I mean, we were not a big team. Size-wise, we were small, and then back in them days, there were some big teams. And they threw us. Our first schedule was not a good one. We played Minot. We played Century. We played we played some big schools, and again, credit to that coaching staff for just finding the little nuggets to say, hey, we got this. Let's go with it.
Lenny, tell me what you remember. 2014 was special. Boys basketball won the state title in Minot. Football won in Grand. You've barely been open, not even a full cycle of students to have state titles in boys basketball and football already. What did that even, was that even ahead of your own timeline of what the success could be there?
Well, I think, everybody says it takes a while, and especially like in football, it does take a while. So I think that was even a little ahead of the game on that. Basketball, we had some really good athletes coming up from day one. So, I guess opening a new school, you always wonder, okay, the ultimate goal is state titles. When do you get them? We were fortunate enough to have some of our other programs in golf, girls golf got it, cross country. They broke the ice early. So it's like people going, oh, okay, programs, even at an early stage, they can get a state title. And so I think the carrot was always out there for everybody just to strive. And like I said, we had great coaches, good athletes come through, and they just worked hard and, again, put it together that was a fun couple of years there, because those are two programs winning a state title. Those are ultimate goals for a lot of schools that haven't achieved yet.
I think I might have bugged you about you mentioned the turf project about 1,000 times on that. When that came for football and soccer, how much did that change everything athletic-wise for you at the school?
Well, it did a lot. I just even in the fall. It was hard, but as soon as you had that first heavy rain, and you just played a soccer game on there in football, it never recovered.
No.
There's and we know turf now is pretty much available across the state, but back then there wasn't a lot of turf. But the schools that did have turf, South, Shanley, they were so inviting. They invited us to, hey, you need this, let's do it, and we did, and we needed it. I think the big savior was girls soccer.
Mm-hmm.
They had to come in the spring, and we, our winters are long, so we could never get water on them in time. So they had to play a lot of their first games on a very hard surface, rough, beat-up surface. And so I felt really good for that program, just because they could come in the spring and have a nice field.
So Matt Quintus is set to take over now as the next athletic director. What would you tell him? If you had a chance, and I'm sure you've already visited quite a bit, but would you tell him maybe some things of the job that you didn't expect that came up to say, hey, this is something to put in the back pocket for knowledge?
Well, I think the one thing is that flexibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, every situation is different. You can't come in and just say, okay, here's what it is, and here's how I'm going to deal with it. Everything is different. You talk about discipline. Every situation's different. So you got to be flexible. You got to listen. Parents, they want the best for their kiddos. And so, they're never, I always say parents are never wrong. They're just speaking from their heart. They just want the best for their kiddos. So, listen to them and just, hear them out. And then you got to see the big picture. What is it, big picture? That's the hard part, I think, is that everybody just sees their program or their kiddo. But as an athletic director or activities coordinator, you got to see the big picture. What's in the best interest as the school, for the program, and because you got to draw some consistencies with that.
I want to, off of that, we were talking earlier about another coach up in Bemidji, football coach that stepped away. As an athletic director, as an administrator, how important is it for you to have your coaches back, to say, I'm with you on this? If there's parents that are, and I know you've run into this in your time at Davies, to say, well, we don't like this coach and we want to see a replacement. What's the athletic director's role in that, in your estimation, your opinion?
Well, for me, I always just say, in this role here, I coach the coaches. So if there's things, and that's the information we got to receive, and we got to work together to, Dr. Schatz he taught me, because he was the first principal here.
Yep.
He always talked about perception. Perception is people's reality, and so I always use that as like, wow. People are perceiving, it may not be what you're saying is true, but people are perceiving that this is happening. How do we correct that perception? Because I do believe coaches, all coaches, they are in it, especially nowadays. They're not in it for the money, because it doesn't pay that well, but they're in it because they have a passion for the sport or the activity. They love working with the students, and they just want to see good things for them. And they're trying to balance out being competitive, but yet making it a memorable experience, and that's a tough task.
Looking ahead now, we were talking off air. Well, so come July 1, July 2, like do you know yet? You put your feet up? What do you have planned?
Well, I got to find some hobbies. I know that. My wife owns a couple stores, and probably she'll utilize me a little bit here and there. I won't be with her all the time. I don't want to bug her too much. So doing that with some hobbies, and I got some projects I got to finish out at the lake in town here. So I'll find some time to do that.
So I know you've been asked about favorite, championship. Is there just a standout memory, a couple that stand out from your time as AD at Davies?
I have been asked that. I would say no. I mean, yes, you have your football championship and getting their second one this past year, basketball. But I truly am so proud of just, our forensics, their championships that they have in there. Our music, they knock it out of the park in their concerts and their competitions. I guess in the sports world, I always tell people, if you've never been to a state wrestling, you got to get there, because that is phenomenal, and people don't understand that. And so, when you have a team, and our Davies team this year, we did so well as a team at state this year. I'm very proud of them. But just when they win individual championships, so there is no one particular thing. I'm just very proud of the Davies programs that we have here and how they have excelled and just represented our school.
You think about just going to a game? Will you do that, or say, nah, I've seen enough. I'm good for a bit?
Oh no! I'm gonna go. Our lake place is out by Henning, and so my neighbor out there, he's always going to the Henning, and they have some success out there.
Yep.
So I said, well, when I'm retired and I'm out at the lake and you're going to the game, I'm going with you. But I plan on doing, if they need some help at the scores table here, my daughter a bit here, helping me out now. I said I would be more happy to do like the shot clock and book and stuff. So no, I plan on staying involved. I would miss it too much.
Last thing before I let you go, I distinctly remember when you gave me the tour of the new gym, knew what it was in 2011. Like, man, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen. And now I've seen what Cheyenne has done and West Fargo. But I remember distinctly when you looked at it for the first time, like, how did you ever think, like, how are we going to fill this thing?
Well, I remember walking in and going, this is cool, because there's not a lot of gyms that have the seating all the way around.
And a walking track as well above it. Yeah.
So I was excited to have that thing filled up. So that was pretty good, pretty cool. But Dom, I do got to say one more memorable thing, that is over COVID when you were sitting in the stands all by yourself. I'll never forget that. That was pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody could hear me on the field. I'm pretty sure of that too.
Yes. Yep.
And
no, that was a moment a night I'll never forget. Having you sit there and broadcasting that game. So I thank you for coming out and doing that too.
It was surreal. Is probably the best way to describe it. I really appreciate you doing this, bud. Congratulations on a great run. Put your feet up after you're done scheduling some games here in the spring. And thanks so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Lenny Ohlhauser, retiring Davies athletic director, the only one that the school has ever known since they opened their doors way back in 2011. And for people that have lived around Fargo long enough, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that when you went south of, 32nd, You got past Courts Plus, and there's Rose Creek, but after that, there was nothing. And I remember the first time I went with a school, I'm like, holy cow, I feel like you're like 8 hours away from Fargo. The first time I went down University to Davies, and then decided, all right, 25th is probably going to be the best way to go. But still, Shanley was fairly new and they had relocated there, but the roundabouts had just been done. There were no houses out there. If you go back and look at those photos in 2011, 2012, compared to now, where it's filled in, there was nothing out there. And you felt like you were going to the edge of eternity to go cover a high school football game in 2012, 2013. And I've said plenty about the field, and thankfully when they got turf about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's totally changed everything. But I distinctly remember covering when we were doing the game of the week, and I was still doing that on Friday nights. I timed it. Like, okay, how long is it going to take me to get from Davies back to the station to make sure I don't miss First Down Friday? I can say it now. The statute of limitations is done. I got back one night in 9 minutes, which I thought was pretty darn good considering where we're located to where Davies is. But Lenny's been great to work with, and I appreciate what he said on because I think for incoming ADs, it's something to certainly be aware of now of what the challenges are and Dr. Jeff Schatz, who was Fargo superintendent for a bit as well, spoke with him many times on this. He said perception is reality, and knowing full well of I'm talking about the Shanley situation. Perception is that they run out their coaches. It's actually reality, considering the stats, that getting out in front of this saves you a headache more often than not. Appreciate Lenny giving us a few minutes. Let's break. Come back, got a few things, including just sent to me, for those wondering, the Moorhead High School football schedule for 2026 is out for the state runners-up. We'll give you that and a few emails as well. Back on Hot Mic after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on. Hey, tomorrow, chat some golf with our guy Chris Howell will be here from Moray Country Club. Excited to have Goose back with us. We may be chatting about a Summit League Men's Golf Championship as well. North Dakota State's men's team with first-year head coach Dr. Ekron Miller leads the Summit League Championship by 6 shots going to today's final round. Shout out to another Fargo Davies kid, Fargo's own Gabe Benson. Former Cobber, who shot 66 yesterday to move NDSU into first place. So they've got a 6-shot lead over Denver. And nobody wants Denver to win. They're leaving. So we'll see what happens there. But the Bison lineup is Gabe Benson, Jake Scarpru, another Fargo kid, Andrew Ballou, Carter White, Rylan Petrie, of course, who is the reigning Bell Bank Amateur champion from One Fertile, Minnesota. As part of their lineup. So we'll see. They tee off here. Actually, I think they already are on the course. So we'll update that here in just a little bit. Now, I got this sent to me when we were visiting with Lenny, and how nerds we are for scheduling here. This is one we've been waiting on. The Moorhead Spuds 2026 football schedule is out for year 2 as a 6A school. And I think we had Tay Rich talk about this when Tay was on with us when he announced his commitment to go to the University of Minnesota, saying he couldn't wait for this year's schedule, knowing it's basically a reverse of last year. But now that we see it, and here it is. Spuds will open right before Labor Day weekend, as they typically do, at Rogers to open up the regular season. Then back-to-back home games with Woodbury and Minnetonka. Minnetonka will be here for the first time. Minnetonka, who has their starting quarterback, Caden Gutzmer, is a UND commit. One of their wide receivers / safeties, Cody Braun, is a North Dakota State commit. They're all right. Minnetonka is going to be here. I know they've come up for hockey. They haven't been here for football. That's a big bleeping deal. Then at Wayzata, which was a thriller last year. At Maple Grove. Last I checked, they're okay in football. Spuds got run out of the field by the Crimson last year. Then look at the end of here. Eden Prairie is coming. Eden Prairie. They don't leave the Metro. Is coming all the way up to Jim Goda Stadium on October the 9th. Might have to twist some arms there. That's my wife's birthday. Say if we can go see Eden Prairie play on her birthday against the Spuds. Then the short week at St. Michael. That's over Teachers Week there. And then the end of the season, how about it with a rematch of the state championship game in Moorhead, October the 23rd. Edina comes to play the Spuds. All the games at 6 o'clock, as per usual, because of the amount of travel that's going to go on both sides. I think Kevin Feeney's going to jump up and down that he doesn't have to go to Woodbury. He had to go there twice last year. That's 4.5 hours one way. The Spuds had to do that. I'll just say it right now. The fact that Minnetonka, Edina, and Eden Prairie are coming here, let's go. I mean, those are three of the best teams in the state, not counting Moorhead. Edina's the reigning champs. Minnetonka finished in the semis last year. They lost to Edina. Eden Prairie, last I checked, is all right in football, and they should be again this year. And the Spuds figure that I would imagine as we get closer to the summer, that they'll be the number one team in 6A in preseason. Knowing what they have back, I would imagine that they're going to be number one. So there you have it for the football schedule. Opens at Rogers to open up 2026 on a Thursday night, and then they're off and rolling after that. So plan accordingly. I think that will be a hot ticket, even for people that aren't big high school football fans, to see that crew go one more time, knowing the three of them are all going to play at the University of Minnesota, meaning Jet Feeney, David Mack, and Tay Rich, that there's going to be, I think, even the curious fan that will be interested to see how the Spuds fare in 2026. And I would anticipate, not knowing this for certain, a few of those games are going to probably end up on our airwaves as well, just for our high school game of the week coverage, because that's pretty dynamite there. All right, let's break. We come back. Much more on the Wolves' Game 1 victory over San Antonio last night. Kyle Theige will join us to break it down, give us his thoughts on Game 2, and what can this team do in the postseason. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a busy Tuesday show as we maybe blurry-eyed from staying up a little bit late last night. Not too bad. Wasn't nearly as bad as last Monday when the Wolves and Nuggets played at 9:30. We get two 8:30 starts, especially when the Timberwolves come out and beat the San Antonio Spurs. Our next guest knows everything about the Wolves that possibly can. I'm really pumped to have him on the show. Kyle Theige joins us from the Dane Moore Basketball Show, covers everything for the Wolves, has for better part of a decade, North Dakota guy. So we trust his basketball instincts more than anything here. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. Was that a steal of a win last night? What's the best adjective to describe the Timberwolves' victory last night?
I mean, I'm still. How did you sleep last night? Because I still thought the Champagne 3 had gone in. They absolutely stole it. I mean, coming into the day when you're previewing the series, when you go from round 1 to round 2, not a lot of wiggle room in between. But you're like, you know what? No Dante DiVincenzo out with an Achilles tear. No Anthony Edwards. Probably no Ayo Dosunmu. You're like, this is going to be an uphill battle. No. And then Anthony Edwards, who goes by the nickname of Wolverine in that building because his ability to heal so quickly. It was 10 days ago that his knee was bent backwards. And I was like, that's it. And then he just shows up Monday morning at shoot around. And I think he inspired a lot of those guys that just needed a little jolt because Jaden McDaniels played 45 minutes in Game 6 against the Nuggets to close them out. Terrence Shannon Jr. was his first playoff start. They just needed a little emotional juice. But to answer your question, yeah, they absolutely stole Game 1. And, you know, the saying in sports, like a series doesn't start till the home team loses. Well, the series has started now, and Minnesota, despite 82 regular season games where they just never fully gave you what you wanted and never cared about playoff seeding, they believed they had a switch. They flipped the switch this playoffs, and now they have home court against the Spurs.
All right, how would you grade how Anthony Edwards played? Like, I don't think I ever thought he was going to play Game 1. I thought Game 4, Game 5. So the fact he played last night is absurd, and then I thought he looked pretty darn good. What did you think, Kyle?
I think he was feeling it out a little bit, just like, I mean, not just one knee is bad now. He's got both knees. He sprained one knee, and then he's got runner's knee in the other. But he also has been very vocal all the time about when he doesn't play for a day or two, like he kind of loses his cardio just like anyone else. Basketball shape is different. Like you can't really practice or train for that. You got to be on the court. So he kind of felt things out early. He didn't force it, which a younger Ant would have absolutely tried to force it early. He let other guys get involved. And then when they needed him the most, there was that moment late, I think in the third or early fourth, when Keldon Johnson for the Spurs, he won Sixth Man of the Year this year. He started talking a little bit to Ant, and that's like got to be in the game plan if you're the opponent of like, hey, don't talk nasty to number 5. And he kind of turned it on, and that's what they needed. They needed a closer. They needed those big threes because they're still lacking shooting in this series without Dante. But he gave them everything that the Wolves needed, and he's going to keep getting healthier, right? Like, he's back doing his rehab this morning. So that's what's scary if you're the Spurs, is like that was probably 60% Ant. And you would think as this series goes on, maybe he gets to 70, 80%.
The thing he made, we're showing it now, Kyle. He made a 3 over Wemby, which I remember a couple years ago when Luka did that to Gobert and Rudy got absolutely shredded for that. I hope that happens today because that was unbelievable last night.
And just his fearlessness. I mean, Wemby did have I think record 11 blocks. If you do the Zapruder film on that, I think 6 of them were goaltends. So we might have to go back and look at that. But I mean, he is why other guys on the team, Terrence Shannon Jr., who's actually older than Ant, which is funny because it's like his little brother, but he's actually a year older. The fearlessness that these guys had to go to the rim time and time again, despite Wemby, who is Defensive Player of the Year, maybe the best rim protector of all time. That kind of comes from Ant. So just his gravity on the court last night, I would definitely, again, it was probably only like a B, maybe even a B- performance, which sounds rough, but it's like he can do so many more things once he gets his stamina back. And that's what's kind of scary now for a team like the Wolves that were such underdogs. Like they were, Spurs in 4, Spurs in 5.
Yes.
For the Wolves to have win that game and not really play that well, I think that kind of shifts how everyone's going to look at this series.
Okay, so Terrence Shannon Jr., we played the sound at the top of the show, said I'm going to keep going to the rim. I don't care. And that was the intriguing part. Wemby had a block late. The Wolves got it back, and then Conley drained a corner triple, which I love that mindset. Like, hey, we're going to keep doing it, and it's not going to affect us. I don't know how it doesn't affect you when you know you've got the unicorn down there who's going to send it back the other way.
All regular season, this Timberwolves team has been criticized a little bit for maybe not always having like elite basketball IQ, but just kind of being dogs. And that's kind of a dog mentality of like, hey, smarter teams, spreadsheets, analytics, they might tell you, don't go to the rim. Wemby, is such a historically great rim protector. They don't really care. Like what TJ said in his quote, like, I'm going to challenge him and I'm going to get him one. So for them to keep going time and time again, also, that was the first time, I think, in 6 months that Victor Wembanyama had played 40 minutes. It was like dating back to like October 26th. That's not how they use him. I mean, he is generational, but he's kind of on a pitch count all season, 31, 32 minutes. So the more times they go to the rim, even if he gets 11 of them, that just force and just physicality is going to kind of burn him down because he's not a big dude. I mean, he's taller than hell, but he's not thick yet. He hasn't really developed some of that weight, only being a couple years in the league. So, but yeah, that corner 3 from Mike Conley. Mike Conley is another guy who had been kind of beaten up all season and then just comes in and gives you 4 threes, and it was huge in the moment.
Ayo Dosunmu's status, everything was focused on Ant, and obviously he hasn't played. He played in Game 5 against Denver. He wasn't the same. From what is he going to come back anytime? I mean, calf is another thing. That's Achilles, the whole thing. You don't want to mess with that coming back too soon.
Yeah, I think he's literally going to be day to day. And like, how do you feel? He would be a huge jolt for them too, because of just his ability to get to the rim, also space the floor, and then just push in transition. The Spurs, despite having Wemby, their biggest advantage, I think, is just their trio of guards that they start in Fox, Castle, and then when they bring Harper off the bench and Vassell. So they could use more athleticism, the Wolves could, but I also think they're very precautious because Ayo's in a contract year. He's going to get paid this summer. I would imagine the Wolves are the ones who pay him. But after you watch what happened to Dante, that's kind of the new reality in sports, right? Like you have these calf strains, and then all of a sudden that leads to something worse. So they're going to be super protective of him. Stealing Game 1 helps buy him some more time, but I think every day you tune into the injury report, it might just be he's active or he's out.
Yeah. See, that's why I thought on the Ant deal, seeing the schedule that they're playing every other day, there's no multiple days off. Like, well, there's no way he's going to be back before Game 4, maybe at the earliest. That's why anything now is just in my mind is a bonus.
I know. Ant has his own team now of content creators, so he puts out his video. But yeah, it sounds like he was doing 24/7 around the clock rehab. People were wondering, like in Game 6 in Target Center, like why he wasn't there.
Right.
He was literally at his house, wrapped up with his knees in what looked like a sleeping bag, just getting round the clock attention so that he could do this. And I mean, there's so many other guys that have sprained their knee. I remember Giannis did it for the Bucks a couple of years ago, and he was out at least 2 weeks. And those extra 4, 5, 6 days really matter from a recovery standpoint. So, yeah, the fact that Ant was able to even come back last night while other guys on the team are dropping like flies, it was just another reason that this team is, when it gets to playoff time, man, they do flip a switch, whether it be mentally or cohesion, just like playing defense. It's something that Chris Finch has instilled in them, and they really do put it on when the lights are the brightest.
How much is the playoff experience a thing, too, Kyle, that they've done this? San Antonio, this is their first go-around with this unit that the Wolves have been through to the West Finals back-to-back years. They've been through the fire that they can tap into that where the Spurs can't.
If you exclude that last minute of the game, we all just pretend that it didn't happen. I was going to come on here today and be like, you know what? That continuity, that was the big word for this organization all summer. Is like, we're going to run it back, same guys. I think it does matter a lot now. That final minute, let's just all pretend it didn't happen. But I do think when the lights get the brightest, I mean, I'm living out here in Portland right now. That Spurs-Portland series wasn't much of a sweat. Like the Spurs just had better players, better execution, better coaching. That's not the case now. Like Chris Finch is a really good coach, and Anthony Edwards on 0 knees is still like the second best player in this series. So I think the Spurs are in real trouble. Like Game 2 now kind of becomes a must win, because when you're young and inexperienced and you go down 0-2 and you lose home court, it really puts you up historically against your backs against the wall. So it's a must win for San Antonio on Tuesday or on Wednesday, but what the Wolves have and the battle scars of Western Conference Finals losses last couple of years, I think it does play a huge factor in this.
Is it preposterous to think they can do this now in 6 games? I'm prisoner of the moment after they won last night.
I was texting our friend and one of the GOATs, Jim Peterson, today, and we were both kind of like, are we like America's team now? Like, is this like a thing? Because everyone just seems to love not only the story of another 6 seed kind of making a run. I mean, this is your favorite March Madness team basically now come May, but they just play a level of basketball where they're fearless. Like we said, going to the rim, toughness. The Jaden McDaniel stuff in round 1 where he just went government name by government name and called out players for being bad defenders and then just stuck it to them for the rest of the series. Like, that's kind of a level of toughness you don't really see as much in sports. You don't really see that level of bleep talking anymore with everyone being so kind of protective. So it's a really cool team to get around. And it's so crazy, but I woke up this morning, I was like, what are flights to OKC look like in a couple weeks? So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, this was the first time I really believed like they could do it.
Before I let you go, give us a little bit of background. Obviously, you're a Grand Forks guy. How you hooked up with Dane? And just how this is blown up. Following your podcast, watching it, Kyle, it's huge. And I know 9 years ago the Wolves weren't very good, but how did it go from where it's at when you started to where you guys are at now?
Born and raised in Grand Forks, moved out to the West Coast to chase my wife when she went to grad school. So when I got out here, I was really lonely. I wanted to cover my team, kind of have a community. So yeah, Dane and I started covering the Timberwolves about a decade ago. And since then I'll be sincere about this, we've had some really cool guests, Chris Finch, Tim Conley, a bunch of players, Alex Rodriguez a couple times, and none of that matters to my extended family, who is all tuned in now across the state of North Dakota. Because once I told them I was doing hot mic, they're like, that's the coolest moment of your life. We're glad we paid for your college. So I have a lot of family in Fargo, some local business owners, as you know, and then my extended family out in Bismarck, and I'm from Grand Forks. So hoping to move back to Minnesota this summer, partly because this Wolves thing in the pod that Dane has put together has become such a hit. But it's so fun, as you know better than anyone, talking sports, getting different people's opinions. The passion that people have for sports is just kind of my favorite thing in life. So it's been a lot of fun to do it. And yes, it helps they're not 20-62. I'm not used to working in May. I used to get into this because by April 10th you were done and I could focus on the spring, but now the Wolves have me working late.
Well, at this time of year, we're focused on the lottery, right? Like, hey, how is the lottery going to go against them, right? That they were, hey, they're supposed to move up, and of course they never did. Now we're worried about, hey, like you said, can we get flights to OKC in the conference finals, right?
Yeah, ping pong balls used to be my April and May, and now it's still basketball. So I'll never take that for granted. But yeah, this is if you haven't tuned in yet, and again, you have scar tissue or PTSD of being a Wolves fan for all those really lean years, this team is fun to get behind, and they got a real chance now to make some noise.
Kyle, thanks for doing this and getting up early with us, bud. I really appreciate it. Keep up the great work. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Kyle Theige joining us from the Dave Moore Basketball Show. Great stuff. If you're a Wolves fan, check out their deal. It's really, really good. And as you mentioned, they've had everybody from A-Rod to Chris Finch. You name it, it's been on their show. And gives us some good stuff there. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things, get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Twins are back in action tonight. Wild as well. We'll wrap up Hot Mike on WDAY Extra after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Tuesday morning. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, Goose Howe will be with us. Chat some Bell Bank golf, a few other things as well on our docket for tomorrow's show. Looking forward to that. Also, recap Game 2 of the Wild and the Avalanche. We'll preview that here in a minute and get you ready for Wolves-Spurs Game 2. This funny thing about we're in this time of year where we got playoff games every single night. And off of Kyle's point there to wrap our last segment, how often we used to, time to fully embrace the Twins, and they're not very good. We don't have to worry about that this spring. That at least the Wild and the Wolves are going to give us 2 more weeks of fun playoff stuff to follow, which when your team's in it, it's just a different deal. It really is. And it's fun to follow. I didn't have time for this yesterday, and it was awesome to see the different amount of tributes that went out to John Sterling yesterday, who passed away. The legendary radio voice of the New York Yankees. I grew up listening to John Sterling. I'm sure my pops can give us a couple of good John Sterling stories, that he had such a unique voice, unique way of calling the game. The Yankees win. I could hear it. It's imprinted on my brain, considering all they did was win from 1996 to 2001. They seemingly won it every year. I know they didn't, but they did. And that's when he rose to prominence. I mean, he had been calling Yankee games, I bet, for at least 7 or 8 years before the Yankees won their first World Championship to start their dynasty in 96. Then won it again in 98, won it again in 99, won it again in 2000, lost in Game 7 in 2001. That he just was iconic. And he and Michael Kay, who Michael Kay is now the TV voice of the Yankees, were on radio paired together. Unbelievable radio tandem. That's the unique thing about baseball, is that the attachment that fans have to their local broadcasters. I can tell you right now, though, I have with the guys from SNY, with Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, do the Mets games. Granted, 2 of those guys are all-time Mets forever, but they form what I believe the best broadcast booth in baseball. Bob Uecker had that relationship with Brewer fans. Corey Provis has talked to us often about that. And television has it. Radio has it's a different, unique tie to that, where you're with them every time you're either in the car, or you're out on the field, or you're running errands or whatever, and you have the game on. There's just a familiarity there. John Gordon, I know, had it forever as the voice of the Twins. That Sterling had that with the Yankees, and the way he went about, he had nicknames for every kind of home run. A Judgian blast for Aaron Judge. He made up, I think, Italian words for Giancarlo Stanton when he had a home run. He had an A-bomb for A-Rod. He had all those, and that's what made him fantastic. So a salute to the very great John Sterling, passed away yesterday after a long illness, and he will be remembered even for Met fans. They're pouring out of support, which tells you he was pretty damn good at his job. The biggest rival thinks he did pretty good. Good stuff there. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. All All right, what to watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Here we go. We got Game 2 tonight. Jared Bednar, the head coach of the Avalanche, says, I do not expect anything similar tonight than what I saw in Game 1, which means don't count on 15 goals tonight between the Avalanche and the Wild. Earlier start as well. Let's go. 7 o'clock, ESPN. It's the only hockey game on the night tonight. Avalanche lead the series 1-0. We'll see who starts in net, too, for Minnesota as they try to even the series up. Remember, they have 3 days off after this. No game Wednesday, no game Thursday, no game Friday, and when they resume that. The Twins are back in action as well as they start a series in Washington with the Nationals. No update on Joe Ryan's status, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Taj Bradley will get the start for Minnesota today. And you got Game 1, Lakers-Thunder. It's coming up tonight on NBC, 7:30 there from OKC. Our thanks to Kyle Theige for joining us, Lenny Ohlhauser and Mike McFeely. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Hope everybody has a great Tuesday. Stay warm out there, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.